Good evening, viewers and listeners, and welcome to another edition of Serving the People, brought to you every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. on SVG TV by the Democratic Republican Party, the DRP. I'm your host, Mrs. Agnes Batiste, and founder of the DRP. Please let us start with a word of prayer. Dear Father in heaven, please bless our viewers as they listen to the things that I explained to them in this program. May they understand well, and may we all work together to help each other and to make our country a better place. In Jesus' name, amen. And now, viewers and listeners, remember that if you wish to contact me at this program, you may call the number on your screen. It is 528-1015. That's 528-1015. And now, to begin this evening's program, I would just like to update you about a few news issues related to the Democratic Republican Party. First of all, I never got a chance to show you via this program an honor that I received while I attended the International Women's Day conference of the Women Democracy Network in Washington, D.C. earlier this year. It was in March. And at that conference, while we were at that conference, we were informed of the fact that a magazine called The Diplomatic Courier had featured some of the persons who attended the International Women's Day conference of the WDN in their magazine, where they were talking about women and their work throughout the world and the achievements that they have made. And in this magazine, some of us who attended the International Women's Day conference were featured, and I had the honor of being named among the Diplomatic Courier's top global women for 2013. This is the magazine. This is what it looks like. It's the Diplomatic Courier, and it is a foreign affairs, global affairs magazine that is published in Washington, D.C. in United States of America. And this particular edition, it was a special issue for International Women's Day in March of 2013, this year. And inside of the magazine, on several pages, you would find photographs and information about women from the Women's Democracy Network and women from other agencies around the world who were featured, and their work is featured in the magazine. And I'll just show you give you a quick view of the page where you'll find my photograph and a little bit of information about me just here at the bottom. And you would also see that there's some other women who were featured in the magazine, and we were featured among what the Diplomatic Courier called its top global women. And this was a special annual feature from the Diplomatic Courier magazine. This was the news was brought in the Searchlight newspaper, the news newspaper, and would have been mentioned in the media in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but I just wanted to give you an opportunity to show you the magazine in which the feature was done. We were also featured on the Diplomatic Courier's online page. So if you were to go on the internet and search for Diplomatic Courier and search for the top global women 2013, you would see that Agnes Batiste, founder of the Democratic Republican Party, is actually the first woman that comes at the top. And then when you go to the bottom, you see all the other women for 2013 who were named top global women for the Diplomatic Courier magazine for International Women's Day 2013. In other news concerning the Democratic Republican Party, we have recently met with the National Reconciliation Advisory Committee of the Ministry of National Reconciliation. We received correspondence from them which asked for a meeting with our party, and I met with the chairman of this committee, Pastor Stephen Olivier, and his secretary, Ms. Michael. We met and we talked about the objectives of the National Reconciliation Advisory Committee, which included things like basically fostering unity among our people and encouraging unity and reconciliation. We talked about the objectives, and the NRAC, or National Reconciliation Advisory Committee, talked to me about encouraging me as a political party leader to encourage my supporters to remember that we are all one people and to be very responsible, especially during the political campaign period. You know how oftentimes we have complained about persons using politics as a way to sort of get very nasty and get down into the gutter with the things they say about each other. I know that as an individual in politics, my own example has been that I deal with the facts, and where I have to criticize, I criticize responsibly, not saying any untruths which could lead to claims against libel and slander. And for that reason, I have never been sued for any libel or slander for that, for example. So we, by tradition and by the habit of our founder at the DRP, we know what it is to be responsible in speech, in political campaigning, and I have often encouraged you, viewers, supporters, listeners, to be responsible, to criticize if you must, but not to breach the rights and freedoms of your fellow men. So we had no difficulty in giving support to the National Reconciliation Advisory Committee's call and to their objectives overall. We did also highlight in the meeting, I highlighted to the chairman and the secretary, how the issue of political victimization is a sore point for many persons, and it is felt that it negatively impacts upon the efforts to bring people together. Because when you have a political party in government or an opposition party, as the case may be, victimizing its people, it's difficult for persons to heed calls to come together in the face of that kind of infringement upon their rights. And so I talked about that, and I also encouraged the NRAC to be careful, to be consistent and fair in their own pronouncements, because you don't want the people out there thinking that you only you only condemn, for example, when one party is doing wrong, but you don't condemn if the other party is doing wrong. So I called upon them to ensure that they are consistent and fair when they're doing their work, so that they could build public confidence in their efforts. And so I just wanted to update you on those things. And now for the rest of the program, we want to look at the issue of housing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And in particular, I want to talk about two projects that the DRP is working on to help two particular Vincentian women with their housing concerns. And I really want to reflect on what the governing party, the ULP, has said recently in the parliament when they were debating a motion on housing which was brought by Senator David Brown and which was also debated by Honorable Elvis Charles. And what we heard from Mr. Charles, and I'll let you listen a bit in a little while, we heard a lot of boasting about the things that the government has done. I want you to listen carefully to what Mr. Honorable Elvis Charles had to say, and then I want to talk to you again about two very important issues of housing. Take a look at this clip and listen very carefully.
I would like to talk to both about the construction of houses. Mr. Speaker, low-income homes were established in many areas in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in almost every constituency. But we can talk about areas like Green Hill, where I now reside, Peters Hope, Byra, and those areas, Clare Valley. Look at wonderful establishments. Mr. Speaker, I boast when I travel, when I get the opportunity to travel under this government, about our housing program, about how structured it is, and about the vision and the foresight of our leader and the party in assisting Vincentians in owning their own homes, and hence making life more comfortable for all of us. Mr. Speaker, I just want to give here a summary. because time would not permit, I would just like to talk about areas and where houses were built, and to give maybe costs that were incurred by this government in making these a reality. Mr. Speaker, when we talk about no-income homes, no income, where these homes are constructed mainly for the poor and indigent, if I must say, those people who just cannot afford to build houses on their own. And it is the first time in all my years that I've seen a government in this country constructing houses for people for free. Mr. Speaker, it pains my heart sometimes when I listen to the critics of this party who turns away from reality by saying that these houses are matchboxes, they could have been done by the people themselves and all that. It hurts, Mr. Speaker, because this government is a government of the people, for the people. Mr. Speaker, I'll just look here. Between 2009 and 2012, over 300 of such homes were constructed for Vincentians. These were people who either didn't have houses before, or whose houses were in a state of disrepair and were inhabitable. And this government has helped to correct those wrongs. And we continue. It is the only government, and I said it. One time I sat on the block, and I would say that we got into a little argument about governments that provide for the people. And I said that many of us, we construct houses in areas where we know disasters would cause problems. And soon as something happens, we run to the HLDC, and lo and behold, lands are found for such people and proper houses are constructed for them. Mr. Speaker, it pains when people criticize and say negative things about the Housing and Land Development Corporation and its purpose, when done differently. New construction between 2009 and 2012, over 71 houses, no-income houses, were constructed. Over 20 were renovated. And we must also talk about the number of persons who receive materials to renovate their homes. Because sometimes people would come to you that they want to renovate homes, when in truth and in fact they want to expand. And the HLDC, most times, find materials for such people to construct, renovate, and expand their homes.
Yes, my dear viewers, you would have heard Honorable Elvis Charles talking about the efforts that his government has made in the area of housing and land development. And in particular, he boasted about the low-income and no-income houses which have been built by his administration between the year 2009 and 2012. He talked about an overall estimate of 300 of such homes being built, and pointed out that about 71 no-income houses had been built between 2009 and 2012. And I took note of the fact that he boasted that the no-income house program helps persons who have no income. They're basically built for free, houses that are built for free for individuals who cannot afford a home, just simply cannot afford it. They are for the poor and indigent, he said, persons who just cannot afford housing. And he boasts that his government is a government for the people, of the people and for the people. And he said that it pained his heart to hear the critics of his government's housing policy, because he knows how much they have done for Vincentians and how much it has helped Vincentians. He also pointed out that they have a structured housing program and they seek to make life more comfortable for all of us. And he pointed out some examples of housing schemes or housing programs in areas like Green Hill and Clare Valley and so on. You know, as I listened to the Honorable Elvis Charles, I listened with great interest, and let me make it emphatically clear here on this program that the DRP is not against at all the work of the government in building homes for people and helping persons to afford housing. We say very good where persons who have had need of housing have been able to access housing. We are not against the no income or low income houses that have been built for persons, but what we are saying is that there is still work to be done, and there are a number of persons who have sought to access assistance, who really need assistance when you examine their cases. There are still persons, for example, from the Hurricane Thomas, which took place in October 2010, I think it was, and they still have not received assistance in repairing their homes, for example, and a number of them are still very concerned about the current hurricane season that we are in and the fact that they still never got any assistance to do significant repairs, and they were not in a position financially to repair themselves. We question the management of the program that had to do with giving assistance to persons who were affected by the hurricane and storm. We question the management of such a program. Was it, for example, put into the hands of politicians, area representatives, or was the National Emergency Management Organization given a chance to do its job, to heed the needs of those who were in need? Or were people told to go to representatives, and did representatives just give significantly to those who support them because an election was just around the corner? Remember, the election was December 2010 and the hurricane struck us in October. These are the questions we ask because when we examine the facts and we see that there were persons who were significantly affected but did not get assistance, and there are persons even who are able to point out homes and areas where assistance was given where they didn't need assistance, it is very troubling and it is a cause for concern, because government is supposed to be fair in its operations and ensure that the persons who really have need get help. This brings me to the two issues I want to talk about for the next 12 minutes or so. I have spoken to you through this program about the cases of one Agnes Pierre of Rosebank and Rosalie Roberts of Trumaka in the constituency of North Leeward. And I have shown you their situations and I have called upon you for assistance. The reality is, Honorable Elvis Charles, look at Miss Agnes Pierre's house. Has she been forgotten in the whole program of no income houses? And I know that she is not the only one who lives in this condition, and you can see the photographs across the screen right now. You see that Agnes, for example, lives in what we would call a wattle and dab structure that has dirt flooring. She has to use old clothing and so on to try to stop the spaces between the galvanized and the rest of the structure to just keep herself from getting wet. And it really is no good condition for an elderly woman like herself, who is also battling the problem of diabetes, where she has to take insulin twice per day and has to have food to take it. She's really in no condition to be in a position like this. She cannot help herself financially. She doesn't work. She's sick. And she's alone. Her partner died a few years ago. And the only little assistance she gets is from a neighbor who tries her very best, Miss Jack, and I must commend her, to help her. And it was Miss Jack who called upon me to come and see Agnes's situation. What has happened, Elvis Charles? Agnes and her relatives tell me that they've never even received a visit, neither from any caretaker for the ULP in the area of North Leeward, nor from the NDP representative for North Leeward, who is the area representative as he won his seat last election. This is unacceptable. No elderly woman a weaker vessel should be living in a condition like this. And furthermore, Agnes told me when we showed her program initially that she used to be on a public welfare assistance but was taken off that assistance program with no explanation. She just turned up one day for her assistance and was told that there was nothing for her. This is unacceptable. And what we are saying here at the DRP is that when you have a housing assistance program where only some people seem to get assistance and some aren't getting, it leaves much to be desired. These are the cases that really need help, and we have raised it. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you know about the woman by now. What have you done? Well, thank God for the DRP, and thank God for the persons who heeded our call and have come forward so far and have given assistance in the form of finances and food and clothing to Agnes. And thank God for organizations that have agreed to help us build a structure for Agnes. And the DRP will do it because we are the party. Even though we are not in government and we don't have access to the taxes, we are the party. Even though we don't have 30,000 plus supporters who voted for us last election like the NDP, we are the party that knows how to inspire and get people together in cooperation to get things done. And because of that, Miss Pierre will soon have a little house of her own. I want to go to Rosalie Roberts' situation. Rosalie Roberts, as you know, was a victim of domestic violence, and unfortunately the perpetrator burned her house. I showed you the program, you know the story. She is still trying to get assistance to fix her house generally. But after much discussion and due to the fact that it is very costly to fix the entire house, we are looking at temporary fix for her so she could be more comfortable. So what we're doing is we're working on fixing the downstairs of her house so that she could be secure during this hurricane season. And we have an estimate of what it would take to do the work downstairs. And I want to tell you, dear viewers, that Rosalie is in need of certain material. And I'm going to be appealing to you to please help where you can. She needs, for example, 3 doors. And these doors, you can call me, I can give you the exact cost. But she needs 3 doors downstairs. And she also needs 100 6-inch blocks. She also needs 10 sacks of cement. And she also needs 1 small truckload of sand. These are the things that she needs to get downstairs in a condition that she and her 80-something-year-old father, who has a heart problem, can stay there and ride out this hurricane season, because already the winds and the rain is affecting her upstairs because the roof is completely burnt. You can see some of the photos, and she can't stay upstairs in that condition. And thank God also, she also got a bit of assistance from a government agency where she got some windows, and she's grateful for that, but she can't do anything with just the windows alone. She can't do anything much with what she has already because it is not enough to start any significant project. This is why we need the remainder of the things that I just mentioned: 10 sacks of cement, 100 6-inch blocks, 1 small truckload of sand, and 3 doors to put together with the windows that she got to fix downstairs. So she could be there, she wouldn't have a roof problem downstairs, and she is going to use the material from the walls that were chipped and make gravel so that she could replaster and fix up downstairs. It is time enough we come together and help our own, because if government wouldn't do it and if the opposition wouldn't do it, then the DRP knows how to call upon you, dear Vincentians, to come together in love and concern for your fellow Vincentians and get things done. And we are only happy to do that because we know that when we work together and when we show compassion for one another, because it could have been us, and when we look out for one another and we care for one another, that is how the divisions can be over time removed and we can be reconciled as a nation. And so in our work, we truly not just pay lip service to national reconciliation, but by our own example and by our behavior, we show that we are for the national unity of the country. And so I am appealing to you. You would see the photos, you would have seen some of the photos of the situation with Miss Roberts' home. I'm appealing to you, please, if you want to assist her, you can call the number on your screen. It's 528-1015. That's 528-1015. And remember, you would be helping Miss Rosalie Roberts. Remember, she got chopped on her hands and the muscle in one of her legs. She can't use her leg as she should. She can't walk as she should. She can't work again as she should because of the damage done to one of her hands. And so we are really trying to come together and assist her. Let me take the opportunity one time to thank the persons who have already put assistance. Some persons have called and have given whatever little they can, both from here in St. Vincent as well as abroad. And we are truly grateful for your thoughtfulness, for your care and concern, and for your tangible assistance to Miss Roberts. And I know I speak for her and her family when I say heartfelt thank you. And we're just appealing to the rest of you to please know what she needs and help where you can. Again, I repeat, 10 sacks of cement. We need 100 6-inch blocks. We also need a small truckload of sand, and we need 3 doors for downstairs. And if you call the number on your screen, 528-1015, I'll be able to tell you the exact cost of these things and how you can get the monies to us so we could buy them and get the downstairs of Rosalie Roberts' house fixed in a way that she could move in there and be safe during the hurricane season that is now upon us. We're already reading and hearing that SEDEMA, the Caribbean Emergency Management Agency, is saying that we could expect a very active hurricane season. And I remind you also of Agnes, Pierre. Like I said, we've received some assistance. I want to just commend you all for the kind of assistance you've given to her. And I want to also point out that even young persons have come forward, have called me and said, Miss Batiste, I would like to give this, I would like to give that. Young persons in community college and secondary school. And it's really heartwarming to know that young people are thinking about each other, because sometimes we complain about our young people, but our young people are good and they know how to help each other and they know how to support. And this is very good. This is very encouraging to see our young people coming forward like that to help the less fortunate. So remember that Serving the People, a program done by the Democratic Republican Party, is who is doing this. And we are not against the government helping with housing. We are happy for those who have got help, who needed it. But we are saying there are serious, significant cases in the country that are going overlooked, and that should not be. Rosalie Roberts' case, for example, when it appeared, was all over the front pages of the 3 main newspapers in the country. Everybody read and knew about this woman who got chopped up, unfortunately, and whose house was burned. And it's been going in 2 years now, October, since this incident took place, and Rosalie still does not have a proper roof over her head. Unacceptable. And I'm chiding both the UIP government as well as the NDP opposition, because the area representative himself for North Leeward needed to take interest in this situation and see what could be done to help the poor woman. But the DRP is here for you. This is what we want you to recognize. And while we don't have money, and I want you to bear that in mind, we do not have the world of cash. We do not have money to do great things like the government. We do not have the many thousands of supporters like the opposition. Not yet. But look, we can get something done. Imagine what we would do when we are in government. Therefore, give us your support. Vote for the DRP when we come to you with our candidates, because we are the party that gets things done for you, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Call us at 528-1015. That's 528-1015. Until our next program, may God bless you. Amen.